Pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Today's guest menu looks like this. He's the head man in charge of the Southern University baseball program. Coach Kerrick Jackson joins me in hour number one. Following Coach Jackson, Santoria Black of the Grambling State Radio Network complete hour number two. The coach Van Pettaway, joined number two, and then last but not least, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Here's what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. Coach Roger Cater selected to the 2021 ABCA Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Coach Roger Cater, an iconic baseball figure in college baseball and, of course, in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Big news this week. MEAC suspends fall sports due to COVID-19. The pandemic is undefeated, and that pandemic will be undefeated for a while. So we'll get your thoughts on that. MEAC suspends fall sports due to COVID-19. Now, with that being said, SWAC MEAC Challenge Celebration Bowl, non-existent for 2020. Also, the Southwestern Athletic Conference Commissioner, Dr. McClellan, denies reports that the conference will cancel fall sports. Albeit the Council of Presidents, COP, they will be meeting Monday to let everyone know what will happen as far as fall sports. Will they continue on with the plan that they put forth earlier? Will they change directions? We'll know sometime Monday evening. But of course, it's a big topic. I guess my poll question would be to you, what will the SWAC Council President's decision be? And then finally, how important is Black media, journalists, or the media members that cover HBCU sports? We kind of get into that conversation as well today, and very important. And let me just say this while I have the opportunity. A lot of information came out yesterday about what the Southwestern Athletic Conference decision will be. Let us not forget that sometimes it is better to be right than to be first. And I notice a lot of times on social media, different media outlets, a lot of them who don't even cover HBCU sports on a regular basis, they're entitled to state their opinion and report a story. But I'd rather be right 100% of the time than to, quote unquote, be first. Everybody's trying to out top to get the story first. And let's just remember, again, let's just be right. I have this saying, facts versus opinion. The fact is, the Southwestern Athletic Conference Council Presidents will have a meeting Monday. That's a fact. Now, opinion comes in is that, in my humble opinion, I believe that they will suspend fall sports. That's my opinion. Facts versus opinions. And then last but not least, two iconic figures in the civil rights movement, Reverend C.T. Vivian, and then last night, iconic John Lewis. They've earned their wings. They passed away this week. Thoughts and prayers go out to the families of Reverend C.T. Vivian and John Lewis. In about 10 minutes, a visit with Kerrick Jackson Let me do this. I always like to see how Brother Prince is doing, the producer of Carlos Brown Show. Brother Prince, good morning to you.
Good morning, brother. How you feeling this day, man?
I'm feeling encouraged now. I
All
was a
right.
little tired physically and mentally, but hey, you got to keep on keeping on.
You got to keep on keeping on, my man. And I'm glad that you're feeling inspired. I'm glad you feel uplifted. That means you're going to have a terrific show today.
Well, I plan on having it of that way. I'm going to talk to several guests. I'm going to interact with those who are listening. And by the way, you can shoot me an email at thecolesbrownshow@gmail.com. Also, I have the Carlos Brown Show Facebook page Messenger open for you. A lot of you like to send comments or questions to the show. So, with that being said, and then, of course, all of the social media handles on Twitter, on Instagram, YouTube, subscribe, do all of that good stuff. You can hear the show on many platforms. Well, Brother Prince, it's going to be some interesting couple of days coming up, leading up to the big meeting Monday.
Yes, sir. It's not the upper room meeting, though, is it?
Oh, no, but, hey, at the upper room, we're all going to do it. We're all going to have a meeting in that room.
Hey, you say we on deck, baby. We on deck.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless you are going to live forever.
Well.
So at least physically you won't, but hopefully, wait, hold on. I don't want to get off into
I was about to say, do we need to
non-sport.
Well.
Yeah. But you get the drift. You get the drift. But some big decisions they're going to be made, and I was talking with someone on social media, and I told them like 2 weeks ago, I said, before the end of July, we will know a lot.
Right.
In a positive way, and maybe not so in a positive way. But it is what it is.
Indeed.
And let the chips fall where they may.
And they are falling.
Yeah.
They are falling, that's for sure. But I think it's still going to be all right, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it'll be a chance and an opportunity to sit back and re-examine some situations, examine some situations. And I've said on the show plenty of times, fall 2021. But we're going to have to do some things to make sure that as a sports world and as a society that we're even back to somewhat semi-normal situation. And I use that term very delicately. Mm-hmm. It is, we're basically in the fight for our lives. And, some people are still not taking it seriously, but at the end of the day, we must continue.
And
we must continue on.
We shall continue on. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We must and we shall.
And we shall. And so, Coach Kador, hats off to Coach Kador, 2021, ABCA Hall of Fame. He deserves that honor, and he's done a lot for collegiate baseball. And for many, many years, people looked up to Coach Kador, and they still do. Although in retirement now, still doing well. But congratulations to Coach Kador.
Yeah, man, he's doing very well for himself. He's still involved with baseball, but of course, with the pandemic that hit, slowed him down. But it's real good to see him get that honor, and especially when he can see it for himself still alive. Sometimes we wait until a person is transitioned over before they try to acknowledge him, but it was good to see that. We were fortunate enough to have him on the show this week, and he was his old regular self. Old Kador, still Kador.
Yeah, he's a very interesting person. I mean, we think about the baseball coach, but off the competitive playing field, just he's one of the few. When you interview, you don't have to have an outline of questions and topics that you can go with 3 or 4. He's gonna give it to you back, and he's never shy of an opinion.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that.
And 33 years at Southern, Kadar compiled a 913 wins, 597 losses record that included 14 SWAC titles, 13 SWAC Coach of the Year awards, 12 30-win seasons, and 11 NCAA tournament appearances, and 2 HBCU national titles, 2003 and 2005. Just impressive.
Very much.
Just impressive.
I can safely say we probably won't see that, at least in our lifetime, to happen again.
Yeah. To be at a institution that long, I think, those days are gone.
Right. And I think that's part of the challenge that our new millennial coaches have to face and fans have to get adjusted to. Gone is the day where you see, if you got a guy that's been on the sideline or in the dugout for 5 years and beyond, consider yourself blessed.
Mm-hmm.
Because those 20-year runs, 30-year runs, they're done. They're done.
History. So with that being said, congratulations once again, Coach Roger Kadar. And then before we get to our first interview of today's show, MEAC suspends fall sports due to COVID-19. The right decision, in my humble opinion.
Yes, sir.
And I don't have any problem with that decision because the students and the student health, student athletes, their health, support staff, everybody is affected by what's going on. So, hey, I applaud them for their decision.
Amen, brother. You batting 1,000 thus far. I got your back.
Well, batting 1,000, a good baseball player.
There you go.
What is the range?
No,
if it's outstanding, what was that?
1,000 is the max.
No, I mean, but the average one.
300.
290,
300.
275 to 300. That's good marks.
Hey, if you're batting in the professional ranks, 275 and above, you can retire a pretty wealthy individual in baseball. I would even go as far as to say batting 250 and above consistently, you could retire a pretty wealthy individual in baseball.
And being consistent.
Yes, sir. Being consistent is definitely the key. Definitely
the key. That is the key also. And I made some notes for myself when covering sporting events. How important is black media? Or how important is it for media who covers HBCU sports? And let me just say this. They should be supported. I know financially it's tough times for everyone, but if you enjoy and you think and believe that HBCU media or black media, they're doing a great job, support them. Because and really and truthfully, I've been doing this for over 20 years. And a lot of times you look and you feel and you look back and see if someone has your back. A lot of times it's just you standing by yourself. But now, and I'm not talking about, my colleagues, because I'm sure they feel the same thing, So we'll get a little bit more into that. If it's important, support black media, whatever platform. There are quite a few of us that I know needs support. more of a thing or situation? Will players come to HBCU baseball programs? You know, we talked about it in recruits in basketball, transfers coming in. Will that be a situation that we can look at as far as HBCU baseball? And also get his thoughts on the addition of FAMU and Bethune-Cookman in the conference. Oh, boy. Competition. So it'll be interesting to get his thoughts on that and more. Take a quick time out. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Hello, this is Alonzo Hardy Jr., the president of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999, at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and Roast Banquet or luncheon where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Prophet Wagon Master Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at SWAC universities, but who may still need an extra semester or two to complete their college studies. For more information on the SWAC Alumni Association or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to SWAC Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is swakalumniassociation@yahoo.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Today's first guest, head guy in charge of Southern University baseball program, Coach Kerrick Jackson. Coach, good morning to you.
Good morning. How y'all doing? Doing good. Just trying to catch up on some yard work.
Oh, yeah, I understand that. I definitely understand that. But everyone's trying to be safe. How is the family?
Everybody's good. You know, we're actually, my boys are coming back today. They went and spent some time with their grandmothers up in St. Louis. And then they're getting back, and we decided to go with the homeschool option. And so they'll get started on homeschool now and get prepared. They actually started in June, but we took a little break so they could go up there. And now when they get back, we'll go full-fledged homeschool.
Well, they're going to be up for the challenge, I'm sure. We're great parents, and, hey, we applaud the effort that you and your family are making as far as the education of the children. Outstanding. And speaking of outstanding, Coach, baseball team, of course, I think the last time we talked, it was after the season got canceled. In terms of the program, how have you continued to make Southern baseball program relevant in a unprecedented time?
I think we have looked at this time, understanding that obviously we're not playing now. But what I've challenged our kids and coaches is this is an opportunity to get better. As a professional, the only time you have an opportunity to self-reflect and get better and not worry about the current task at hand is when you don't have a job. So the fact that everybody's still employed and everything is good, it's a time for us to look at our processes, how we're getting the information out, how the kids are receiving the information, our coaching and teaching techniques, and then challenging our players on the same thing. The first question, we've been having Zoom calls all summer, and the first question I asked them was, if you could go back and do something different than what you did, now being able to look back at it, what would you do? And so just challenging them to think more retrospectively. Also ask them, who are you as a man? Because too many times, specifically kids, and unfortunately sometimes adults, we identify ourselves by what it is our profession is, what our bank account looks like, so on and so forth, or I'm a baseball player. No, that's not who you are as a man. That's what you do. So just challenging them to get better on that mental side of things. And you guys both know it. This is a mental game. I saw this as an excellent opportunity to attack that mental side.
Yeah, very important, to say the least. Visiting with Coach Kerry Jackson, head man in charge of Southern University baseball program. And Coach, we're going to talk about several things in our conversation. We were just talking about the baseball program and keeping the Southern University baseball program relevant. I was scanning the news, and in light of the spirit in the country, as far as you're seeing top recruits in basketball committing to HBCUs, and I was scanning the news front, and I saw where you guys have been lucky, been having good fortune to have a couple of players transferred into your baseball program. If you could you talk about that process, and do you think that this will be a continued trend?
So, yes, like you said, we were pretty fortunate to be able to pick up some D1 transfers, and I think it's in light of everything that's going on. When NCAA granted everybody the year back, you had a number of kids that, or I should say, you had a number of institutions that were going to have more players than they had spots because they expected everybody to kind of move up and move on. So you had to make room for that freshman class, and then you have some guys that, because there was only 5 rounds in the draft, that didn't sign or go in the draft this year. So then that created an influx of players. So we were able to benefit from some of those guys that were looking for new homes. A couple programs were canceled, and so we were able to benefit from that as well. And so I think in the grand scheme of things, it's kind of a one-year deal. I have always believed that it is best for us to build our program with freshmen and piece in JUCO transfers and or 4-year transfers where needed. But I just think this was a unique situation and a unique opportunity for us to be able to get some guys that have had a good level of experience and are talented. And we're looking for a place to go, and we were able to pick up on that, and hopefully it benefits us come the springtime. And with some of these kids, they have 2 and 3 years left of eligibility, so it'll be that process that'll carry us for the next couple of years or so. But no, it will not be a trend for us. We really want to stay with the idea of developing freshmen and recruiting freshmen to come in and getting those guys to be where we want them to be.
And Coach, if I remember, coming off of the SWAC baseball championship, and then talking to you, right before the season started, you talked about the Southern baseball program being young, and they may get their bumps early, but you felt that as the season progressed, that you would still be in the range of your goal is to compete for another championship. With that being said, still a young team. What is the perspective of this baseball program if everything is back to somewhat normal in the upcoming seasons? You still feel that this program will be there to challenge for a championship as always?
I think on paper we are for sure. I think when you look at the fact that we had our seniors back, and the majority of the seniors, we had 7 seniors, 6 of them were pitchers, 3 of them were in our starting rotation. So being able to get those guys back with the experience that they have, as being 4-year players is going to be very beneficial, specifically when you're talking about being on the bump like that. And then with some of the additions that we had coming in, and that's not including the transfers that we picked up as a result of all the COVID stuff. I really like our bullpen. I think that it is going to be very, very deep. I like our starting rotation. Some of the freshmen that we have coming in, there's a couple of those kids that have a chance to compete for starting positions in the rotation because they're that good. So no, I still like our chances. And then when you turn the page and you talk about the additions of the 4-year guys that we've had that have had the experience that they've had, you'd like to believe that they will come in and be able to contribute as well. So I think we do have a good recipe for success. Again, prior to everything, I liked it. When all this stuff hit, we were 6-10 when the season stopped, but 6 of those 10 losses were Texas Tech, LSU, and Tulane. In one of the games against Tulane, we lost 7-0 or 7-1, I believe, but we had 7 freshmen on the field. So I think those guys got some valuable experience, and I'm looking forward to those guys coming back and having a really competitive fall.
Visiting with Coach Kerry Jackson, head baseball coach at Southern University. And with that being said, Coach, now, since the last time we talked, 2 additions to the Southwestern Athletic Conference. No stranger to you and many of the coaches in the conference, but Bethune-Cookman and FAMU. Get your thoughts on those additions, and can we say, as the young people would say, hashtag competition?
For sure. But even more so, I think, than competition, I think you also got to look at the idea that adding 2 teams that have the history of success that they've had, that also strengthens us on the national level from a baseball standpoint. I believe that from an HBCU baseball conference, and just as you look at the sports in our conference as a whole, I really believe the addition of those 2 teams put us in the conversation of being able to be competitive on a national level year in and year out, specifically when it comes to postseason. And I think what you might end up seeing here in the near future is you might seeing the SWAC get an automatic bid to the regional, because I think when you look at the teams that we're adding, obviously Bethune-Cookman, what they've been able to do in the MEAC over the last 20 years, 15, I guess you should say 15 years or so, has been tremendous. When I was there in 96, we won the first, so I guess it would be 20 years. We won the first conference championship in the history of the school, and then they ran off 12 consecutive. So that's a very dominant team. They play a very competitive schedule. FAMU plays a very competitive schedule, and again, they've had some history of success. So now I think it's up to us as a coaching cohort to decide what we want our conference to look like when it comes to baseball, and talk about the idea of scheduling and what our non-conference schedule will look like, and challenging everybody in the conference to play a Division I only schedule, challenging everybody in the conference to schedule more teams that are in the top 150 RPI. So we elevate our conference, and then I think you put ourselves in a position to where now we can potentially be on equal footing as the Southland, and maybe even, again, we have some room to go, but the Sun Belt, when you talk about that top half of your league, it could be pretty competitive with anybody in the country. So I think if like I said, as a coaching cohort, if we make that decision that that's what we want to do, I think it can easily be accomplished, and hopefully we're allowed to play a 30-game conference schedule, because if we're playing 30 games against ourselves, and then you have your 26 non-conference games, and we schedule those the right way, we could be looking at something pretty special. Some
valid points made by you, Coach Jackson, and it's going to be interesting to see what course the conference will take. I'm sure they'll listen to the coaches' input. And speaking of that, how about as far as the tournament, do you see it continuing in the 18 format, or would 6 be a better fit? How do you just kind of see maybe the direction that the tournament will go?
I think it'll be interesting with that, just because now you're talking about being a 12-team league. And I think if we do take 8, I think we need to structure it a little bit differently in the 8 teams that we take. Maybe, your top 4 teams get a bye that first round. Your bottom 4 teams play in a win-or-go-home game. And then you move on with a 6-team tournament. And then from a 6-team tournament, now you can do a bunch of different things. You can separate them into 2 different pools, and then have each team have a guaranteed of 3 games. The 2 pool winners then go on and play in a championship game. There's just so many things I think we can do. But what I think we have to be able to do is we have to look and as a group decide what is it that we're trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. Are we trying to accomplish and legitimize ourselves on the national level? And if so, what's the best route to go about doing that? And may that mean that we don't take 8 teams and some people don't make the tournament? It might just mean that, well, get better. I like the idea of giving our kids the opportunity, but if we can't have a competitive tournament from start to finish, then we're not doing ourselves any justice. And like I said, if we play the 30-game schedule, well, now your kids are playing 30 games and they have that conference race and those types of things. And so yeah, I think there's a lot of things that can be done. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it comes down to what do we want to get accomplished.
It's going to be interesting, a lot to consider. And once again, with the leadership of the conference and the commissioner and the coaches, I think you guys will have the right decision made for the right type of play that you want to have. And Coach, it's going to be very interesting. Last but not least, back to recruiting. When it's all said and done, what needs do you see that your program you need to address as far as the recruiting process?
You're always looking at pitching. Like I said, when you talk about the 2019 class of freshmen combined with the 2020 class of freshmen, I really like what we've put together there. I think there's a core nucleus that specifically now, since last year's freshmen got this year back, now you're talking about a core nucleus that could be together for 3 to 4 years, because I do think we have some draftable kids in both those classes. So as we move forward, and again, with that push of everything, our 21 class is going to be small, which I think is going to be the same for everybody around the country. I think those are the kids in that 21 class. They're the ones that probably are going to suffer the most from everything that's taken place. Nobody was able to get out and see those kids play this summer. Everybody's rosters are over capacity right now. So as we look forward, we have some small needs in 21. We need a catcher. We need to always add arms and potentially a left-handed bat. But then more importantly, looking forward to 22 and understanding what our needs will be in that 22 class is kind of where we're focusing. And then at the same time, starting to identify some 23 grads and get in on those guys and let them know of our interest and be able to go that route.
Coach, as I listen to you, my mind still goes back to literally the battles. I wanted to say wars with Texas Southern. Classic baseball. Just classic. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to the addition of Bethune-Cookman and FAMU, and baseball, once again, for us, conversation piece, is a sport that really has a tremendous upside. And one day you could even be looking at an at-large bid. If it's,
I think we will.
Right.
I'd be the one that wins the tournament and has the automatic, but I'll take the at-large too if we have to go that route.
Yeah, I mean, if it gets so strong, it could be like the Southland. They got an automatic bid, but Usually they get in that large bid as of late. But it's going to be exciting to
yes, sir.
see SWAC baseball. Coach, continue to be safe, you and the family, and appreciate the time. We'll talk again real soon.
I appreciate you all as well.
All right. Thanks. That was Coach Kerry Jackson, baseball coach at Southern University. Going to take a time out. Some individuals, this pandemic will affect them as well. So coming up next, Antonio Black of the Grambling State Radio Network. Get his thoughts on a couple of things and how is he dealing with maybe not having football to broadcast during the fall. Could be very interesting. What will the fans do? What will you guys and ladies do if there's no fall sports, no football, i.e.? You're going to make it. You're going to make it. Take a break. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Chris, can you put the video game controller down for a second?
I can talk and play. Oh, I'm totally annihilating this punk kid in Nebraska.
I just feel like you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Am too.
Well, you still ride your skateboard to work, there's the comic book collection, the race car bed.
Look, I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I picked up a few savings tips at feedthepig.org. I have control of my financial life now, and that feels pretty grown up.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. For free ideas and easy tips on ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
So, I bet I look like a grown-up to you now.
Well, except for the footy pajamas, I'd have to agree.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Broadcasters come into our lives on radio and TV, bringing us information and entertainment. Broadcasters are there for us, but who is there for them when they fall on hard times? The Broadcasters Foundation of America provides financial assistance to broadcasters in acute need due to a critical illness, accident, or other serious misfortune. If you know of a broadcaster on the air or behind the scenes who may need our help, please share our message. Visit broadcastersfoundation.org.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. No stranger to the show, but next guest, Black Radio Network. Santoria, good morning to you, sir.
Greetings and salutations. How are you?
I'm doing fine. You're doing okay? You're being safe? You're hanging in there?
Yeah, look, we're doing the best that we can. Just trying to, stay away from, sickness and just asking God to help us out, man. That's about the best we can do right now.
The best friend you can have, sir. The best friend.
Jesus. Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
I'm sure Bishop Michael can attest to Jesus now.
Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Want to talk to you about your thoughts on will there be a 2020 fall sports season in collegiate sports, and then also it's been a while since we've talked. Kind of get your thoughts on the addition of FAMU and Bethune-Cookman. Get your perspective on those two institutions, fine institutions, coming into the Southwestern Athletic Conference. But to put you on the spot, what do you think is going to happen? 2020, fall sports, football, volleyball, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, look, I know there are a lot of conferences right now who are making tough decisions. Power 5, they're making decisions based on television contracts and NCAA distribution. The G5, of course, on some of the higher guarantees. I know some schools right now looking at about $2 to $3 million in losses just with 2 games. Meanwhile, you got some of the lower G5 conferences as well as FCS, some of those conferences, that it's a little bit different. I think that the biggest challenge that you have is you have teams that are showing positive COVID tests, and we're not even during the regular part of the season. And then the other question is, especially at our HBCUs, most of these HBCUs, it's not like you can isolate players from the general population. You don't really have the space like that. And with that being said, if someone does have the virus, they have to go right back into a normal dorm setting or whatever. And then how do you tell 18 to 22-year-olds, hey, you got to stay in your room, don't go anywhere, and all of that? So you got that problem. I think that from the statistical standpoint, in looking at how things are going, the MEAC already canceling, or I should say suspending, its fall sports, and seeing some of the other conferences do so as well, I think that the chances are probably 75-25 in favor of not having this fall schedule as of right now. Is it possible that we could have one later on in the spring? Absolutely, it is possible. But if you take a look at all the hotspots, according to the CDC, most of the hotspots are in the Sun Belt. Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. It's all where the SWAT territory is. And so when you're looking at hotspots, you're looking at those states that have at least 10% or greater positive testing, according to when you have all the tests. You know, those are not favorable numbers. I think that, you know, a lot of people are saying, hey, we got to have football. We got to have this. We got to have that. And I think that the narrative is different, I think, amongst HBCUs because we are more susceptible to getting this virus and being more sick. And, you know, look, let's just look at the stats. Stats say that African Americans are getting sicker and, you know, passing away at a greater rate, with the exception of, I believe, the American Native minorities. That's it. So I think that statistically, it's very difficult to do that. And look at our fan bases. Our fan bases, we have an older fan base at times.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, how many, you know, and that's something that it's grappling. So you're looking at the battle between finance and football, mental health, and you're looking at, you know, you do this and what kind of a huge outbreak could you have? So I think that it's 75-25 in favor of not having a fall sports schedule right now.
And valid points there. And you look at the science, you look at the numbers, and I think leadership will take all of that in account when they make their decision, whichever way they decide to go. I've seen some people say 80-20, 90-10, that it won't, but, you know, you can play around with the numbers. But at the end of the day, the decision that's made is one that you can't take lightly, and I don't think they will. And they will do what's best for all of those involved. And that's an excellent point, because it was said on this show and other platforms. Our fan base is older. And I would venture to say, even in the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, their fan base, the blueprint, they're older. Now, Santori, I'm older than you, but you get the drift.
Right, I got it.
I mean, and now the science and the numbers is telling us that now, 25 to 40, 30 to 40, now getting sick and showing symptoms. So, yeah, safety, you got to be safe.
Yeah.
And it's just a tough situation. So, with that being said, what will Santoria occupy himself with if he's not calling Grambling State football?
Well, I'm telling you right now, I've been very blessed. Michael can attest to this. I am doing gospel radio right now, and been very blessed to have a national syndicated gospel show that I do. And
congratulations.
Having a lot. Thank you, and have a lot of great things that are going on in that realm. And you know, it's even changed gospel music. You know, Stellar Awards, the IRAA Awards. You know, all of these things have, you know, gone virtual or postponed or even canceled. And so but creative music is still being put out. So I'm going to be occupying my time with trying to see how I can get my kids through all of this healthy, and working on the gospel platform. And plus, we got some other programming on the athletic side that we will be doing, in order to, make sure that there's some type of football programming in place if we don't have anything in the fall. So I will definitely have my hands full, my brother. Trust me.
Oh, I can imagine so, and I understand. I'm visiting with Santoria Black of the Grambling State Radio Network. We have to probably add something else into that in the future. Multiple situations that what you're doing. Black media. That's a phrase that you hear. Black media are media that covers HBCU sports. Are they taken for granted, in your humble opinion?
Absolutely. And the reason I think that the black media is taken advantage of sometimes is twofold. The first thing is, I think that we do some things to ourselves to invalidate our craft. We have to make sure that we are not just looked at as black media, but we are looked at as media. Mm-hmm. Because if we continue to separate ourselves, I think theoretically, we not only separate ourselves from the mainstream media, but I think we even put a different stigma on ourselves from our own people in the HBCU world. Now, we do have a specialty. We do cover HBCU sports. It's different from everybody else. So we do have a different point of view. We have a different standard. But I think that sometimes we do things to hurt ourselves. The other side of that is I think that sometimes I think that you have people who don't understand the value of what we do. We are, on the national average, underpaid to our counterparts. We are we're oftentimes put in some situations to where it's very different, and they wouldn't put our counterparts in. So I think that we have to do some things in order to make sure we understand that our black media is our lifeblood to covering HBCU sports and HBCU news, period. If you look at, the newspapers, if you look at the Montgomery Advertiser, if you look at the Advocate, which I think does, a pretty good job of covering Southern, especially with 3 different newspapers, Acadiana, New Orleans, and Baton Rouge. If you look at the Houston Chronicle, how many of these newspapers and these outlets are doing due justice in covering things outside of the world of sports? Well, you don't have a lot at times. And I think that what happens is that we want the coverage, but we want the coverage at our own taste. We don't want anything out negative. We don't want anything out that's controversial. We don't want anything out. Now, I do think that there are times that we over-sensationalize things that are going on at our HBCUs that are negative. Meanwhile, you have other schools who are doing the same thing, and they're not. But I think, you got to take the good with the bad. And it's not our job and responsibility to always, say, hey, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do that, we're checking this. We've got to be able to say, hey, we are the voice of our people. We are the voice of HBCU sports, the voice of HBCUs. And we've got to do a better job, I think, of respecting that culture. I mean, it's not just when you get on the national scale. And I saw this one time, and it kind of bothered me. Unless we're on the national scale at times, we don't want to, at times, respect people who are at the daily grind every day. And I think that's a bad thing because we at times do some things that are out of the realm. I think we have to respect our black media, though. I mean, if you don't, then they're going to go away, and then you're going to look up, and who's going to cover you?
Mm-hmm. Santoria, do you feel that our black institutions, do they even respect what the media does that covers HBCUs?
I think that they do to a point. Most of the schools are very gracious to have the coverage. But I think what we have, though, is we have people in place at times that do not understand the new modern media and how it works. Now, you have a lot of opinion pieces and things like that. And this goes back to where we hurt ourselves. If we're only covering the bad stuff and we're not doing due diligence in covering the great things that are going on in our institutions, we're doing ourselves a disservice. But I think at the same time, we have people in positions that don't understand media as it is right now. Not everything is social media. There are things that, we know social media is first, but I think that in the foundation of understanding and respecting the black media, you must first understand the term media. I think that if you understand the term in totality, you will not treat it as black or white. You will treat it as media. And I think that's the biggest thing that you have to do. And again, if you don't have a lot of the folks that go out and cover things and all that, hey, you do not have people covering you and talking about you. If you don't have people talking about you, you're not relevant. So, it's one of those things where I think that there needs to be some education in place to kind of teach people about media, about the importance of social media, about the importance of online media, what's legit, what's not legit, because, we have to be honest, there are some people who are completely not legit when it comes to online media, and it makes a bad name for all of us who are trying to do legit things online. We can't be mad because we're covering the truth. That's the other thing. Oh, it's okay if the Houston Chronicle covers a story that's controversial, but it's not okay if, here's a paper over here that's black that covers it. I think you may come at different angles, but you have to tell the truth. In this day and age of social media, you got to be truthful about facts. If you're not, people will not depend on you for information.
Facts versus opinions is what I said earlier in the show. Perfect example. If you follow social media on Twitter, a reporter put out a story, and it wasn't fact.
No.
And it was about, where I'm going with this? It was basically about the conference had decided that fall sports were going to be suspended. But that wasn't a fact. The brass is meeting Monday. Now, your opinion could be, I think after they meet, they're going to decide to suspend fall sports. And that's your opinion. But if it happens, well, we'll know Monday.
Yeah, we'll know Monday. And look, I'm going to tell you something. And I reached out to that reporter and I said, your facts are wrong. And so he was just like, no, but I have a source. And I said, that's fine. And hey, the decision may be even that, but your facts and truth are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, doing this for the period that I've been doing it, sometimes when you get information, and we use the word sources, and I guess that's what his thing was, his source is telling him, whoever he talked to, and maybe not. A lot of times you get information, but sometimes I've decided, well, you know what? I may just wait till the official announcement comes out. Perfect example, one time, Southern's women's basketball coach at the time, from a reliable source who I've trusted over the years, and then I have multiple sources. He said, look, this is going to happen. The basketball coach is going to be relieved of his duties. After receiving that information, I sat on it, and I said, you know what? I'm going to wait till next Saturday, because I was on the air on Saturdays, to decide whether I'm going to, mention it or break the story. So I guess what I'm saying is, a lot of times you get information. Sometimes you have to even vet your sources. And then sometimes you may not want to put a story out. Sometimes I've waited, just from my experience, to the university or the company to come out and make an official statement. I didn't feel comfortable breaking it. In other words, what I'm saying. So I think that's something that I've learned. Again, facts over opinions. Go ahead, Santori.
And I believe this. This is your difference now in why you need to really start embracing the black media more. You see how I just broke that down and knew how to make that decision, because we know the cultural identity and decision-making process of things and how to go forward. Sometimes it's not as important to be first. We're not in New York. We're not in LA and all this other kind of stuff where being first is the most important thing. This is about being right. And I think that because we've been in this culture for so long, You got to know when to step on the gas and when to let off. And, when I reached out to the guy and I said, dude, you're wrong. And he was just like, no, but my source, and I said, I'm going to tell you right now. It's one thing when you put something out there according to your source and, a person is going to be let go and all that kind of stuff. You can't do anything about that. But with something like this, there are too many moving parts just to say the season is canceled. Because if you look at the MEAC's terminology, the way that they describe things, it was going to be suspended indefinitely, which means it's not canceled. The wording is everything in this. And I think that the MEAC coming out the way that they did, I think it does put some pressure on the SWAC. But I think at the same time, the SWAC has different moving parts. And we got to be real careful about how we say things. You're right. Sometimes you get information like, I'm going to sit on this for a little while because there's some other decisions that could be made that we don't know about. And because there are different moving parts, to say it's canceled means it is not going to happen, period. To say suspended indefinitely means for an indefinite period of time, the season is suspended, not canceled. Those are two different words. So, the guy was just, he was like, well, my source is right. And I said, hey, you might be being right, but is it more important being first or right? Because, I'd rather be right. I'd rather be right because in this case, it is too risky. There's too many things that are at stake for us to be guessing. We have all kinds of opinions, and there's certain things that you can say, okay, this is going to happen. But right now, the best that you can say is they may come out and have the exact same opinion as the MEAC, suspended indefinitely. Then you were wrong because now it's not canceled.
And then I got into a conversation with, quote, unquote, a friend, official versus unofficial. He basically told me, well, it's a done deal. It's going to come out. Even Monday, it's going to come out. Well, you don't know that. Again, official, unofficial. Official statement will be forthcoming.
That's correct.
By the
and even Grambling put out a statement. The president did. President Gallo put out a statement yesterday because look, it's a firestorm now. Now the SWAC has to turn around and the SWAC has to turn around and come out and basically play catch up and try to play defense here because of some stuff that happened. So. We're going to see what happens on Monday. There's a possibility that fall sports could be canceled. There's a possibility that fall sports could be suspended indefinitely. Right now, we don't know how we're going to safely bring students back to campus, let alone have competitive sports. And I think that until the schools can get that part right, having competitive sports is secondary. And the same thing with these crazy high schools. And some of these crazy coaches and all of that talking about, we got to have football, just advance everything to the next phase so we can have football. You don't know how the educational process will go yet. And if you're willing just to sign waivers for your kids to go play, hey, just sign a waiver. Put your kids out there. You are basically creating the Tuskegee experiment. That's what's going on, I think, right now. You're putting a whole bunch of tests out there, playing with your kids' lives and teachers' lives, staffs, principals, and all of that, in order to satisfy your need for football. And I think at some point in time, you got to let common sense prevail. I'm not signing a waiver in order just to say, hey, they got to play. Let's just sign a waiver and just put them out there. The fastest growing groups that have COVID right now, 18 to 29, which means that's college age, and the other group that is growing are these kids. I just read 2 stories about 2 summer camps that were social distancing, wore masks, and all this stuff. And guess what? 4 teachers got COVID, 10 students got COVID. So now what do you think is going to happen when you put them in the high schools and in the elementary schools?
I just had a listener say black media matters.
It does.
Trust your source. Trust the media that's been there through the duration. Media that you can trust. And so with that being said, one thing, it's kind of like sometimes when people say, well, y'all not real media. Well, guess what? Let all the black media not show up and see what happens. Mm-hmm.
I've heard that before. Oh, y'all not real media. But what you don't understand is that you can't battle mainstream media and your own people. You can't do that. I mean, that's something that we have fought hard for. I go back to a lesson of Tom that Tom Joyner taught. Tom Joyner had to fight to get his morning show on the air, as popular as he was, because people did not think that it would work in black media. How you gonna make that decision? You ain't black.
Well, this discussion could go further. I mean, journalists, sports talk shows. It's not a lot of us that look like me and you.
Right.
In those fields. But we'll stop right there on that part. Last but not least, family.
Making the SWAC really stand out again, and this goes to our commissioner. Let's just be honest. FAMU and Bethune-Cookman reached out to the SWAC. I want to make that clear that they were interested in joining the conference. It wasn't like the SWAC was hunting them, trying to lure them away from the MEAC. I think there's a bad perception out there about that. The second thing is, I would say, man, look, Florida A&M Jackson, Bethune-Cookman, and Alcorn. I mean, if you look at all of these games and the possibilities, these are going to be marquee games. You have two of the marquee classics in Black College, in the Florida Classic and Bayou Classic, now in the SWAC. It makes you more relevant from a fan standpoint. I think we're going to start ruling the total fans for the year at FCS again. I think that it's going to really make us competitive, and quite frankly, I think it's going to give us some leverage with some of these other FBS schools, because we can say, okay, well, you don't want to play us, we'll just have FAMU and Southern play, or we can just say, hey, Tennessee State, you want to play Bethune-Cookman, and we're going to outdraw you anyway, and we might even get a better gate. So I think it does a lot for leverage with this conference and having 12 teams. It makes things interesting in basketball, baseball, especially baseball. Look what Marvell Melendez did with Bethune-Cookman, and they're still phenomenal. Look at basketball at FAMU. It's going to be a great opportunity, I think. But I do think this. Schools going to have to get on their business about that APR, because if we're going to be taken seriously, you can't have 12 schools and 4 of them got APR issues.
Well, I trust everything's going to be better, trending upward.
Oh, yeah.
And I really believe it's going to be an exciting time. Get through this pandemic and then get back to seeing conference, collegiate sports, and seeing the SWAC just get better as a whole. Santori, appreciate the time. Continue to be safe, you and the family, and we will talk again real soon.
My brothers, I appreciate y'all so much. I thank y'all for y'all time. Y'all be safe. And trouble don't last always. We're going to make it through this. I do want to say our condolences going out to Jay Halsey and his family, one of our colleagues from Alabama State. He passed away this past week. Longtime broadcaster. It was really tough hearing that, but I really do appreciate everybody who has reached out to him and the Alabama State family. Continue to pray for him.
I appreciate you bringing that up. I did see the story behind, that he had passed. But I appreciate you bringing that up.
Absolutely. And John Lewis also, he was at the SWAC championship game, I believe. I saw him with a bunch of Alcornites. So, a great leader. So just continue to pray for everybody, my brothers.
Yeah. Prayer is a good thing. It works. It works. It really does. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk again.
All right, y'all take care, man.
All right, you too. And that was Santoria Black of the Grambling State Radio Network. Some listener says, in black media, we trust. Yes. Michael says, HBCUs don't appreciate people who give their heart and soul to them. You can give a comment or a question. getting some feedback from that interview. Appreciate the feedback with Santoria Black of the Grambling State Radio Network. Going to take a time out. Let's see if I can find Coach Pettaway and get his perspective on what we've talked about. And I'm sure he has an opinion on other sports items. Take a quick time out. Hour number 2 coming up. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you 1 chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Me too.
I'm in.
Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
The birth of legends are storied in this conference. We must never forget our rich history. We now turn our gaze to the future. The new legends will emerge. New heroes to arise. The Southwestern Athletic Conference. Be our history.
Music to my ears. Music to my ears. I've just got a bolt of energy in there. That song, that fight song sounds familiar. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Next guest, Coach Van Pettaway, the Carlos Brown Show's basketball analyst. Coach, have you heard that song before, that fight song?
Well, yeah, you know, it's ironic you bringing that up today. You know, this. It puts us in a great place. In other words, it puts us in a good mood because I know as a coach, even today, if I hear some of the theme songs that my teams used over the years, it will bring back great memories, and those are the things that are dear to my heart. I love listening to music, and especially if it's music that reminds me of the better days, and right now, all of us need some better days.
Well said. Yeah, Brother Prince played that, and it got me in a special place there.
Make you want to run through a wall.
Yeah, even though it'll be hard to pick me up afterwards, but hey, some players have told me motivational speeches by coaches, it will have you literally believe you'd run through a brick wall for that coach. And coach, they say players take on the attributes of their coach.
Right. Coach. I agree with that statement. I agree with that. And it's a good thing. And as a coach, you have to find different ways, different methods of motivating your team, because like in basketball, we play so many games, and then to keep your kids up for every game, you have to be creative. And then sometimes things just fall in your lap. Because I know this, one of the things that we used to do, if we felt like we lost a bad game or a game was not officiated the right way at your place, and then that week, if we concentrated on that loss, when you walked up on that floor, James Brown would always be playing, and people didn't know why. But it would be a big payback.
Yes,
and
indeed.
if you heard that song and you were on our floor, you were in Elmore, we won just every game where we played payback, because we didn't just talk about it. We put it into action that week during practice. So the kids were geeked up. And so music has a way of stimulating a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And that was one of the things that we used to help motivate our teams. The big payback by James Brown was big. And we didn't play it that often, but when we played it, we normally came out and played inspired basketball.
Wow. Not they needed just that, because they were playing for Coach Pettaway,
yep,
who was very intense. And, we could think of some other coaches that were very intense on courtside, but you have my vote, Coach Pettaway.
I appreciate that.
I tried to be objective, and you look at some of the other coaches. One of my other favorites was Shirley Walker, Coach Walker.
Mm-hmm.
Jess, boy, she worked those officials. She worked everything.
Yep.
And Coach, I noticed some coaches now, some will sit down more than others. Some will stand up. Some will do a little bit of both. It's just interesting that the way you motivate players during the game, because you've done all the work in practice and preparation, correct?
Correct. Yep. And then see, a lot of times, I know if a player was not paying attention in practice, and then the very thing that he was not paying attention to in practice, he went out on the court during a game and screwed it up, then that player knew that he was going to hear and see me. Because your practice is already scripted out. I didn't put a lot of play time in practice. They were from the beginning to the end. It was all scripted. So when we want to move to the next stage, we had to keep things moving. And when you're not paying attention, then that's bad. That's bad for you. That's bad for your teammates. So yeah, that will bring that will raise my temperature when a player was not doing what he was supposed to do because they were not paying attention in practice. But you didn't have very much of that, because I think once you set the example for one, the rest of them would say, you know what, I don't want Coach to tell me that or say that to me, so let me go ahead and pay attention.
Yeah, I would be. I would do what I was told to do. I would be a good team player.
Yep.
And in practice, the way you play in games and vice versa. You practice hard, you play hard. And speaking of that, Coach, in your illustrious career, how tough was it after, say, a huge loss, and then you have to come in and face the media afterwards? Some coaches like John Chaney. Wow, can you remember that time he went after Calipari?
Oh yeah. Yep.
After a loss, but how difficult is that to face the media after just a tough loss?
Well, it's tough on a coach sometimes. But one of the things that in this profession, you gotta take the bitter with the sweet. And if you go gallivanting in there after a win, then you got to do the same thing after a loss. So you have to program yourself. You have to condition yourself. And then some coaches they view media different than other coaches. I always felt like they were my friends. They could do more harm to me if I was not receptive. So I was always receptive to the media. I've always believed in the media because they're the people that promote your program. They're the people that get you the good things about your program out there. So they were always my friend. I've had a great amount of respect for the news media. Especially when I first got started, we had 2 daily papers here in Huntsville, and because of my relationship with them, we were always getting press, man. A day never went by when we were not in the paper, news and television. Okay, you got 4 stations here in our city. They all covered our sport, and because of my relationship with those guys, I was always available for interviews whenever they asked for them. They would always come out and they would try their best to spin the most positive light on my program, and I think that's what you look for. In fact, over the years, I have invited some of those our local anchors to be the host of my TV show. So I've had a great relationship with them. I believe in them. I believe in everything that they're doing in the media, and then we as coaches, we have to understand. Just like they cover the good things about our program, if you got something bad going on in your program, it's their job to cover that too. So it's our job as coaches to make sure we don't have much negative publicity coming out of our programs. So that's the way I looked at it.
I would agree, Coach, and that leads me into this part of the conversation. We talked earlier about black media matters, media that covers HBCUs continuously. What do you think? Are they important, and should they be supported? Financially, professionally, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, they should. Yeah, I feel that the black media they're more important than the other people because they're the ones that are going to be there with us every day. Okay, when I first started telling you about this, I told you we had 2 daily papers. Well, see, now we're down to 1, and they don't even publish a paper every week, every day. It's only 3 times a week. So the black media has always been there for us in the black community, and we have to support them just like we support the other people. I didn't discriminate. I didn't care where you were from. If you were media, you needed a story. If we had the story for you, we gave it to you. I didn't discriminate. I think all media matters, just like all lives matter. They have a job to do whether you're white, black, or orange. You still got a job to do. And so it's our job as coaches to promote our programs. That's what every coach is supposed to be doing on his own, not relying on sports information, not relying on other avenues of the university, but you got to take some ownership yourself. You got to be responsible for promoting your program. So I look for all those ways, and the black media was always there for me, and I took care of them. They should love to come to our games. I created a hospitality spot for them and everything.
Wow.
Yep, it's important. I think it's very important. That's the only way you can get your message out.
Well, Huntsville was and it still is a nice long trip. But boy, I wish I could have partaked of some of those hospitality. No, not the snacks. That's that voice again. No, not snacks. But it's about building relationships and Coach, albeit it won't be no Celebration Bowl this year. I enjoyed the most about that trip. The game was great, or the games, but visiting with my colleagues,
right.
Hearing them say, well, you know what, I disagree. Carlos, leave Coach Odoms alone. Even that. It's just the dialogue you have in a relationship. It's about building relationships. And that leads me to this, Coach. Now, has there ever been maybe a media member who got under Coach Pettaway's skin after a game, and did he have to come back and say, after I cooled down about it, hey, maybe I shouldn't have felt that way about that particular member?
No, you know what? Believe it or not, when Van Pettaway went into the interview room, I never had a grudge against anyone, because all those people in there had a job to do, and they're doing their job. And if my team went out on that floor, and in their opinion, they didn't think they performed, it was their right to say bad things or negative things about my team. Now, it was my job as the coach to say, well, you leave that up to me. Let me criticize my team, don't you? Uplift these players. These are young kids, young men, young guys trying to become men. So let's continue to say good things and nurture them so that they can grow. But if talk about the coaching, I'm the professional. So if you want to say something negative, say it about me and not the kids. And so from that, I've always had a great relationship. I've never had to go back and apologize to a person from the media, because I never did anything that I was sorry for. Mm-hmm. I didn't. I've always had a great relationship with the media, and not just my own beat writers. When we would go across the country, just like now in the SWAC, some of those sports information directors that are still there from when I coached, I've got great relationships with them. That's why everywhere I go, they look out for me. I get into the football press boxes. I get into the gymnasiums, that kind of thing. Yeah, some of it came about because I was, working for the SWAC on the SWAC Digital Network. But my relationship with these different institutions and these different people in the media, that's what is great about the job that I'm doing. That's what I remember the most, the relationships. The relationships, just like we have great relationships with our players, we've also got it with people in the media. And to this day, the same people that cover me while I was coaching at Alabama A&M, I still get the same respect from these people because of the respect that I gave them.
And that's what it's all about.
Yep.
That's exactly right. And establishing those relationships. Visiting with Coach Van Pettaway, proudly to say the Coach Brown Show basketball analyst and sports analyst. See, we're adding words to that, Coach. we're adding it, and we are, as always, appreciate because I get a lot of great feedback. I get feedback now. Coach Pettaway really enjoys that segment. He's transparent. He tells it like it is, and you get a different perspective. And that's kind of the way I look at my role as well. I'm like the point guard. Coach, if you need me to give you 20 points or 10 points in the clutch time, you can count on me. Facilitate the offense. I'm an extension of you on that floor. And that's the way I kind of look at a host. People know my opinion or opinions about different topics, but I feel that they want to know your guest's perspective, like you and other guests that have come on this show. So I would just like to say that publicly again. I always appreciate the time. Now, Coach, put you on the spot again. SWAC Council presidents are going to meet Monday. The MEAC, they officially announced this spinoff for all sports. We've seen the CIAA, the SIAC. What does Coach Pettaway feel after Monday? What will we know after the SWAC Council of Presidents meet?
Well, we'll know that those presidents and that council will have put their heads together, and they will make the best decision for the SWAC. They're going to come out and tell us how they think the fall should go for our sports in the SWAC. And whatever decision they come up with, we need to support that. And I'm going to say this, I've said it before. If they come out and say that we're going to suspend play for the fall sports, that means that we as alumnus of our different institutions, we need to step up to the plate. And the reason why we got to step up this year more than any other year, because they have lost all chances of revenue if they have to suspend sports. So that means that football, there's no money coming in from the gates. And see, we're not going to even talk about advertising because our money is in HBCUs is not tied up into big advertising dollars. Ours is walk up the gates. So since there is no football, this is when we need to be making contributions to our athletic programs or to our university. This is when the alumni has to step up and make sure that when this pandemic is over with, that their athletic department survives it and they can come back and compete the way they were competing before this thing hit. So this is a very important week, and whatever decision they make, we have to support it, and we shouldn't speculate. My phone kept going off yesterday. Everybody sending me alerts saying trying to say that it's already happened, that it's going to be canceled. And then I'm like, well, I haven't heard that from the SWAC, so I'm not going to repeat it because it didn't come from the SWAC office. And I think that's where the decision has to come. Whatever release they have or press that's going to get out there, it has to come from the SWAC office because they're the ones that will actually know. The rest of us, all we can do is speculate and have our own opinions. But Van Pettaway's opinion doesn't really matter when it comes to what the SWAC decides. I can have an opinion, but they got to make their own decision, and that's going to be based on them doing what's best for these student athletes, the fans, and each institution.
And to your point, your phone, it's just buzzing off the hook. Mm-hmm. And I still consider this person a friend. You know, basically, I'm not going to go back and forth with you on what was said by someone in the media who doesn't cover this conference. But if you want to go ahead and take that person and think, well, it's just slipped out anyway, and that, look, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
Matter of fact, you can go and talk to that person and stop talking to me. All these text messages, because go with the media you can trust.
Yep.
Who's been in there. It's just like, Coach, if were your practices basically open?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so you've already established, who the media who has come to check you out before, you know them. You built a relationship.
Right.
Now, if somebody comes and hey, I don't know that person, aren't you going to kind of be concerned and got to check that person out?
Well, it depends on what part of practice they came to. If I'm not putting in a game plan or anything, it wouldn't bother me.
But you're going to try to find out who.
Oh yeah, we're going to find out who you are. You had one assistant and one manager. That was their job. You don't stop me because somebody come in. You go check and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. If they're media, they're more than welcome to stay in here. If they're not, if they're alumni, they're passing through. Tell them to have a seat. As long as they're not disturbing what we're doing on the court, let's go for it. So that's the way I was now.
But you still had to find out.
Yes, you do. You do.
Yeah, because I know I've seen back in the day at a Southern football fall camp, you see some mysterious stuff that happens. And, and you had administrative assistants chasing people off.
Oh, yep.
Because somebody's trying to get an advantage, if you get my drift.
Right.
And I'm not going to say it's a school from up north. But I'm telling you, I've seen some interesting situations.
I thought we was going to get through this segment. Okay. I really did.
But Carlos, but you know what? You're telling the truth now because I do know even at Alabama A&M when you're having closed practices, then no one can come in.
Right.
But in basketball, I had very few closed practice. But now it was normal for football, especially leading up to homecoming and our classic, Magic City Classic. If it's a big game, those coaches most of the time they're gonna close practice. They don't want outsiders because football is a little bit different because you can sit in the car and sit at a practice site and with some binoculars or a tape recorder or nowadays your phone.
I've seen that happen.
Yep, your phone. You can pick up everything that they're doing. Mm-hmm. In basketball, when we close it off, I got all the lights off upstairs. The only lights are down there on that floor. And if you come in, if you open the door, we gonna know that you're there. Yep. So that's normal. But when it comes to the media, they're your friends, especially if they're telling it right. Now, every now and then you're gonna run into a rogue person in the media. Somebody's gonna always speculate. Somebody's going on rumors and innuendos. But if they come to me, if they want to know something about A&M basketball and they came to me, I told them the truth. I was always transparent. There's no sense in hiding things because the truth is gonna come out. And then you don't want to be labeled as a person that's dishonest to the media. So I've always been open. That's just like I have to tell players. I'm not gonna lie to a scout now. If a scout asks me about your ability, I'm going to tell him the truth because my word is going to be here after you leave me. So I'm not going to lie about your ability to help you when once you're gone, that same scout's going to say, no, coach lied to me. You can't trust him. And I was known in the NBA circles that if you wanted to know something, a truthful about a kid, call Petaway because he's not going to lie because he won't lie for his own players.
Yeah, well, transparency.
Yep.
Being transparent. The media. Building relationships. And I remember 10 plus years ago, I made a statement that, and I made it, and I must admit, it was during an emotional point. I said, HBCUs and the athletic departments and the sports information should recognize and should learn how to use the media for a good thing, a good situation, and not run away from it. And that kind of got me in hot water. So several wanted to know explain that. What do you mean? Well, I put it this way, Coach. When things, and I think several have made this point, similar point, and you as well. You put the information out there, and it's for discussion. And which way you fall on that topic, you can understand that. When things are happening good, you're on an 8-10 game winning streak, right. 12 game winning streak. You know, oh boy, the cigars out there. You're in front of the media. You know, it's a good time, but you'll find out true relationships and how you stand when things are not
right.
Going
have
good.
An 8-game losing streak,
or 80-game losing streak, or what have you, 50, or 50, or 30.
Hold on, wait a minute.
I just picked that up. Man. That's the loaded belt there now.
Coach, I'm not going to a neutral corner on that one. I'm about an 80-game losing streak. You override you.
What? Oh, the number? Okay, which one? Well, I'm just saying.
Or when we're back-to-back champions in basketball.
Yep.
Oh, here we go. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Is that a fact or an opinion? Carry on.
It's a fact.
That was a low blow. Man, I'm still hurting after that blow.
It's a fact that they're back-to-back champions in basketball. My opinion is, though, will there be a 3? No. Okay, that's my opinion. Unbelievable. Where was I, Coach Petty?
And that's why I said earlier, you got to take the good with the bad.
Well, yeah, thank you. Exactly. So, you've got to. That's part of the game.
Yep.
That's part of the game. Oh, Mississippi Valley State might shot somebody one day. Yeah. Baseball, basketball. Well, somebody feels threatened there, I guess. Well, Coach, as always, we appreciate the insight and your perspective on several topics. But if we can remember this, go with the media you can trust.
Right. And thank you for having me, and you all, and once again, like you all to help our HBCUs.
Well, I had a colleague said, put him down, Petaway and Coach Collins. If y'all have a show on the road at Daytona Beach, I'm there.
Yep. So let's do it. We're gonna plan that road trip.
Yeah, I've been to the state of Florida, Destin, Pensacola, Tallahassee.
Yes, sir.
Ooh.
King River, I think that's the name of it. King River, the seafood restaurant. Yep.
Oh yeah, gotta go there.
Yep.
Well, we appreciate the time, Coach. Be safe. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
All right, thank you, and God bless, and everybody be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Van Petaway here on the Carlos Brown Show. Gonna take a time out, and when I return, we're gonna check on the great one, Charles Edmond, or shall I say Charles Edmond. I think he has now come to the realization that there's a strong possibility that there'll be no calling games in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And the way you set this up is because if you've been doing something for a long time and then for a while it's cut out, how do you adjust? But I think he's getting better on it now. Let's see if he's pumped up. Let's see if he has realized that, hey, life still goes on. There's still things to be done. Challenges yet to conquer. And no, I'm not going to watch YouTube and watch the 2019 SWAC football championship again. I've had enough. Can't do it. I'm going to look forward to better days. Charles Edmond coming up next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. Mike Prince, the pastor of the Temple of Refuge Ministries located in Prairie View, Texas. I am extending a personal invitation to you to come and worship with us Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Simply dial 857-777-0000 and join us for our morning worship. In the event that you miss us live, you can always go to our on-demand center at 720-721-1558 to listen to our latest sermons and Bible studies. Temple of Refuge Ministries, where we're building the kingdom, one soul at a time. Numbers to dial again for our live sermons, 857-777-0000 and on demand, 720-721-1558. Be blessed.
I know that as parents, we work hard to do everything right. We baby-proof our homes, put our kids in car seats, and learn what to do in an emergency. Yet most parents don't know that children could be poisoned by lead paint in their own homes. Lead poisoning causes permanent learning and behavior disorders, and the culprit is usually dust from peeling or chipping lead paint, which goes from the children's hands right into their mouths. Keep paint in good condition in your home, daycare, and other places where your children live and play. Ask your doctor to test your child for lead poisoning and get your home tested too. For more information on how to address lead paint problems safely, call 1-800-424-LED This has been a public service announcement from the Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Welcome back to this final segment of the Carlos Brown Show. This week's edition heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Last game, the Alcorn State Radio Network. Charles, good morning to you. How are you doing? Wait a minute. That's not good. Now, come on. Come on, Charles.
Hey, you want to be honest? Hey, that's where I am.
I've had people to say, "Is Charles really okay? Is he all right?"
Well, I'm okay, but I'm not okay.
What can Brown do for you? Remember that commercial?
I don't know if Brown or Prince or Princess or if anybody could do anything for me at this point with what we got potentially going on and the way sports is happening or not happening. You know what? I'll share this. On Thursday, when the MEAC announced that there will be no fall sports, I took that for a minute and then I thought about it. I'm like, man, it could very well be that we might not have football. Now, of course, the SWAC is next. An announcement is expected next couple of days. Anything can happen in the next 48 hours. The reports are out there that the SWAC's going to pull the plug on football. We don't know. There are meetings, I'm sure, happening right now via Zoom, teleconference, whatever, to try to get everybody on the same page. But just the reality of, it just hits you in the gut. Like, man, we really could be looking at no sports, no football in the fall in the SWAC. And unless we get our act together, the spring looks tight, too. So I think, if it happens, I hope it doesn't. But if it does, we need to start planning and changing our habits now in order for us to have anything in the spring. Because if not, the spring's going to look just like it is right now.
And Charles, I appreciate your comments. And we talked and text message during the week. And I'm going to bring up this guy again. I follow him on Twitter. General Honore. Everybody knows General Honore. The fussing, cussing general during Katrina. He basically said, you need a national plan. You've got 50 states. You got 50 different plans. You have to nationalize this, and then you have to focus on testing, and the logistics of it. He says it can be done. Now, I don't want to get off into a political spin, but going forward, November will be a very important month in this country. And I'll leave it at that, because if not, the response has been shameful. Yeah. It's like, Charles, you prepare for a broadcast, correct? All of those years, you prepared. I've seen behind the scenes how you get prepared. Production, equipment, and everything. And then you prepared. And then something happens during the broadcast or right before the broadcast. You have to make adjustments to that. And I've seen you do that. You're capable of doing it. I'm not. It would be a total disaster. That's not my part. I'm on the other side of the mic. You do actually both for us a game broadcast. But it's the response going forward, how well we respond to the pandemic. And I mean all in general will determine a lot. Charles, will we this time next year be in the same boat, same situation, or will it be better? That's what we have to shoot for.
I hope we're in a whole different place 12 months from now. I'm very confident that we'll get it together. We as a people, we as a community, we as a society, and we tend to do that when our backs are against the wall. And our backs are against the wall right now because a lot of things that we expect to have happen are probably not going to happen. So when you don't have it, then it provides a heightened sense of security, a sense of doing something different. And I think that, if the worst comes to worst, as far as our league is concerned, in terms of no football in the fall, then it's going to be a lot of upset and angry people about that. But we can do something about it, starting right now, starting at 11:45 on a Saturday, mid-July. We can start right now as a society. I mean, I'm doing what I need to do to stay safe and wear the mask. It's required here in Vicksburg as of today. I'm sure you and your family are being safe, Dr. Prince. I mean, Houston's a hot spot. Texas is a hot spot. I mean, we can do our part, but it's going to take more than just us. We can just get the message out. Coaches are trying to get the message out. But if we don't do what we need to do starting right now, the spring's not going to look anything different, even though no one wants spring football. Even the coaches have said they don't want it, but if that's what it takes, they'll do that. But it starts right now, because if not, then the cases are going to continue to be high, and there's going to still be that panic and still be that uncertainty to where we can go in the spring. And then you're looking at the spring sports again. You're looking at basketball, baseball, softball. The plug was pulled on those seasons. We're looking at a second season of that. So I think, going forward, if we want sports, whether it's at the collegiate level, even at the pro level to a certain extent, it starts right now. I know here in Mississippi, we right now in Mississippi, we're looking at Labor Day weekend start, but that's if things get better. I think personally Louisiana did it right. Louisiana's got to be in a phase 4 recovery in order for high school sports to start. And I think that's putting citizens in Louisiana on notice, Carlos, that, hey, you want to see high school sports and protect these kids, then as a citizens in Louisiana, you got to do this and that and that and this to make it happen. So, I mean, I think it's up to us. We can do it. We did it for a short period of time. Granted, we might have reopened too quickly, and that's a whole nother discussion. But at the end of the day, we did it for a short period of time, and the numbers look good. But now we have to do this over a longer period of time, nationally, as you mentioned, and even our health experts, the best in the world on this subject, have told us we need a national shutdown for about 30 days. It's probably not going to happen that way, but we need to start somewhere.
Yeah. Well, hopefully things will be decided quickly on different and multiple fronts. I want you to speak also on how important it's better to get a story right than first as part of the media. You've seen what has happened within 24 hours. I mean, the story moved from A to Z in record speed. Media that you can trust. I've gotten feedback on the show already. Black media, I mean, I'm going to get that right. Black media matters. Media you can trust. How important is it to Charles Edmond to get a story right as far as that compared to, like, I just want to get it first. I don't have to be the first one to get the story, no matter if it's wrong or right.
I think the most important thing that we can do as broadcasters, as disseminators of information, is making sure that we get it right. That's why people listen to you and me and Dr. Prince. He has his shows. People want to listen to us because we want to get information out, and we want to get out the right information. We are in a society in which social media has sped up our process. Everybody's a reporter, breaking news from whomever, and it may be totally wrong. So you're going to get punished for, number one, breaking it so quickly, and it's wrong, more importantly. So the most important thing, and this is taught in journalists journalism school 101, the who, what, where, when, why, and how, and you want to get it right. And yeah, I've read all the back and forth. I know Pervin Keys, and we'll know one thing about it. Time will tell. Come Monday, we'll know exactly what went down. So it's just a matter of just sitting back and letting time take care of it. And we'll know in 48 hours what's going to happen. But the bottom line is, you want it, whatever story you put out there, whatever information you put out there, you want to make sure it is correct. Because if you tell someone to go left when you're supposed to go right, everybody's going left is going to go right off in a ditch. And then they're going to blame you for telling them to go left, no matter how quickly you got it out. So the bottom line is, you always want to get it right. But we are in a society where Fox News, CNN, ABC, everyone wants to be first. But getting it right is the most important thing.
Yeah, and a few times in my career, I've had to come back and say I was wrong about something. Opinions you can be wrong about. Predictions. We've had fun doing that on the show. I predict Southern's going to defeat Alcorn in the 2019 championship. Here's my reasons why. X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D. Didn't happen. Now, we can go through the why this didn't happen, but the point is I was wrong. Less than 5 times, less than 2 times that I just broke a story and it didn't happen. I was totally wrong. You trust your sources. Good. Sources have to be vetted. Someone can text you, hey, I got a scoop for you. Hey, wait a minute, I don't know, who's this? You're not going to go. So you got to vet your sources, and then you establish a relationship with them. And when they tell you something, because you vetted them and you built a relationship with them, you pretty much know if you can go with that information or not. So it's just interesting how this whole situation, Charles, just kind of evolved just that quickly. And you're right. Sometime Monday evening, the SWAC will let everyone know the course that they're going to take. Dr. McClellan had to come out to, a local television reporter and to refute the story that was broken. So
he did that, and he did the right thing. Because nothing has been made official, and we have to keep in mind that any commissioner of any conference reports to the Council of Presidents, whether it's Greg Sankey or whether it's Dr. McClellan. It doesn't matter. The Council of Presidents will dictate the pace and tempo of information, and from that point, that's when it becomes official. So we'll know Monday, and my guess is between yesterday and even today and probably tomorrow, there will be all kinds of conference calls and Zoom calls just to make sure everyone's on the same page in terms of what might happen, whether there'll be a season or not. I think, but everybody's going to be on the same page. And look, it happens. And, for me, I have sources, you have sources, Dr. Prince, a lot more folks that cover this conference now than there was 10 years ago. A lot more entities, a lot more outlets. So what you do is, you play sources off one another. And if 5 or 6 sources say the same thing, then you pretty much know it's pretty much a done deal. But if you've got a couple of sources that say it's going to go left, and then one of them's going to say it's going to go in the middle, and another one's going to say it's going to go right, you got to hold up on that because you don't know which way it's going to go. So again, you have to be careful, because if you lean one way and it's not that way, yeah, you got to go back and backtrack and refute and apologize. But then you do that too many times as a sports talk show host, then your credibility is in jeopardy. So it can't happen all the time. In other words, everybody gets it wrong every now and then, but you can't keep getting it wrong. You have to at some point know when to hold up and let things kind of play out, let the dust clear, and then you can go with it. But when the dust is unsettled, you got to sit pat and just let it settle. And that's when you can get an idea in terms of what might happen or what might not happen. And I think that's what's not happening. I think people are getting a lot of information from a lot of different sources, from a lot of stories. So when that happens, you got to stand back and just kind of wait. Because if you jump out there on an angle and it's wrong, then you've got to eat crow. And you can't do that too many times in this profession because people then lose trust and credibility on you. And that's all you got is your name and your credibility. That's all you got. Because once you lose that, then no one's going to trust you or believe in anything you say or do.
Yeah. Sometimes it's better to just sit back and let the conference officially announce what they're going to do. If you're covering Jackson State, you've gotten some information, but you don't feel comfortable about it. Sit on it. Let the university announce it. Then you can give an opinion on the announcement. How do you feel about what they announced? If there's an opening, say for Southern football that comes up maybe in the future, you don't know. If it does, it'll be easy to jump on it. No, just let the university make the official announcement. Now, if it's an extension of the contract, and I've had that to happen, that, you got some good information, trusted your sources, you vetted your sources, and they're telling you that this is going to happen, then you decide to go with it or not. Perfect example, when NCAA, Southern was coming off of the APR sanction and they were going to be eligible again. I got a call late at night. Usually a call late at night is not good, but I didn't say text message, call. Said, Southern's off probation. Go with it. It's going to be announced tomorrow, but you go with it. Now, I did that. I posted it on social media, and it was the right information. Could you think of if it wasn't? Who would have had egg on their face? You got it. You stated it. It would have been me.
Well, if you have a strong source, if the source that you have there was strong enough and you believe in that source, and if that source tells you to go with it, and he's got or she's got that credibility, then you feel comfortable and standing behind that and not worrying about it. But again, when you're hearing somebody one day go left and 10 seconds later somebody else is going right, and then the same information is pulled in 20 different directions, you got to decide what direction to go. And when you're undecided, that's when you got to sit on it and just kind of let it settle a little bit. Now, I've had that. Working at Alcorn, I get information as well, but I sit on it and just because it could change. Our athletic director has said this pandemic could change not only daily but hourly, and that's where we're going right now. Hourly, it's going a different direction. So, our athletic director I'm pretty close to kind of keeps things very close to the vest, and so he just kind of waits and lets the dust settle, and we'll see come Monday, how this thing's going to play out as far as the SWAC is concerned. Bummed out because if we do pull the plug on the season, just no football for a lot of us. And it's for the first time in 35 years for me that's happened with no football. High school, well, I did in the 80s. That's the last time I really didn't have dealt with football. But for a lot of folks, it's going to be a new experience not having a game for the first time for a lot of folks. But we want to get the story right, Carlos. That's Journalism 100. You got to get the story right instead of being first.
Well, 11:59 Central Standard Time on this show, and the show is going to end very shortly. That's a fact. Opinion is, if God says the same, I'll be back next Saturday. But it's not a fact that I will, but that's my opinion. Hopefully, this has been an interesting discussion, and the discussion will continue on after the show. I'm sure it will. Charles, I get a lot of text messages after the show, agree, disagree. That's part of the business. And I'm sure it'll be that way this week as well. But be safe, and we'll talk again real soon. Want to thank Coach Carrick Jones, Southern University baseball coach, for joining me. Santoria Black, Coach Van Petaway. Want to thank Michael Prince, Brother Doctor, for producing today's show, and everyone who listened in. Make sure you continue to stay safe, be disciplined, and make sure you tune in next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Until next time, as always, peace and God bless.